Did you guys know that this channel's on like a 240-day upload streak? Since June, I believe, June 27th, we have uploaded every single day, and we're gonna hit a year, I promise you. But today's video, we're talking about there's an issue right now in Madden 23 Ultimate Team in that there is not a best quarterback right now. There's no QB1, there's no defined QB that you should be using, etc., etc. There's a lot of preference happening right now, and I've kind of labeled this as an issue, but truth be told, it's actually kind of good. I think it's good for team building and scheming and strategizing, strategery, all those buzzwords about playing Madden and whatnot. I think it's good because you have to kind of find the quarterback who fits your scheme. You can kind of change it up, and using different quarterbacks will be better or worse than using another one depending on how you play Madden, which I think is a good thing. But today there are about 4 quarterbacks that I'm going to be going over who I think are the 4 best, and I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of each of them for you guys to kind of help you decide and what all of my thoughts are, okay? So, first and foremost, we have Thomas Edward Brady Patrick Jr. the third. That's not how you say it, but Tom Brady, he is one of them. We have Patrick Mahomes MVP card. We have Lamar Jackson, who's been out for a second. And we have Joe Flacco, who's also been out for, I think, a couple of weeks now. These 4 QBs, I believe one of the 4 have to be one of these guys, or have to be your QB1, assuming you're not on like a super budget or anything like that. Now, so I'm sure there's going to be another name out there that, could be argued somewhere, but I don't think they give you any kind of advantage. I know Russ comes to mind. I don't think you should really be using Russ over any of these guys, but here we go. Now, it's important to note that I am not a MUT nerd, so I may get an ability bucket wrong here or there, but I've talked to a lot of smart people who are much smarter than myself, and I've really thought about this stuff, okay? So, Tom Brady right here. We're going to see he has 91 speed, and this speed is going to be important because it's going to play a factor a little bit later in this. 91 speed. Don't really care about any of the other stats. He's got 97 throw power. All the short accuracy, or all the accuracies at this point in the game are going to be pretty much fine. Now, there's an argument for throw under pressure playing a huge factor. I think you need to be using Fearless. I'll be honest. I'm a big advocate for Fearless for the most part, because in 95% of your games, it won't be super necessary. But in 5% of your games, you will play somebody who will have under pressures, be blitzing you, especially with new Isaiah Simmons. And if you do not have under pressure or rather Fearless as an ability, you will lose that game more likely than not. It's out of your control. That's why I'm a huge advocate for Fearless, but I'm not going to go down that route right now. So he's got 91 speed, and then his release, which is the big thing right here, his release, he has traditional 1, which is a pretty decent release. He's actually the quarterback that I use. Let's talk about his abilities, though. I think at Fearless for 1, he comes with Slinger already on him, and then let's actually take a gander at this a little bit better like this. So the way I do it is I go Hot Route Master right here for 1, Fearless for 1 right here in the next slot, and then what do we have for the next one? We have Set Feet Lead on him for 3. So basically, you're able to put all of these on him for a total of 5 AP. Now, if you're not a believer in Fearless, you could just drop it to 4 AP. I think you use it for 5 AP. And he has Slinger, which every Madden ever, Slinger's been an insane ability. And it's pretty good in this year. And I think to rock Tom Brady and some of the other quarterbacks we're going to be talking about, I think you need Gunslinger. But Gunslinger causes overthrows in this game. If you ever, and it happens when you highball, not freeforming. You will see overthrows on balls that you would not get without Slinger. That is I don't know if it's an intentional bug or what. I'm not going to call it a glitch. But that is an issue with Gunslinger in this game. And you'll see it a lot on, like, deep corner routes. If you pass lead up and high, or rather, like pass lead up and highball it on a deep corner route, for example, you cannot pass lead it the same way you would with a Joe Flacco without Gunslinger, because that ball will get overthrown a lot. That is a huge issue that I have with Gunslinger right now, and it's why I'm not sure if I'm going to stick with Tom Brady as my QB1, all right, because of that. But I like his speed so much. I like his release with Slinger so much too, where it's like, dang, I would say I don't believe this card is usable if you're not using Slinger. I do think you need Slinger because the underneath passes, which are so important in this game, you need to be throwing underneath the intermediate the majority of the time. They're so big that you need to get that ball out. And I'm such a believer in, again, a philosophy of mine, similar with Fearless, is that if I hit the button before your blitz actually touches me, I need to get that ball out, right? And Gunslinger is what helps do that. But again, I pay the price with some of the deeper passes on some of the high balls. Tom Brady also, though, with the Slinger, does get a pretty good deep ball release, way better than Joe Flacco's, just mentioning that. But Joe Flacco's short release is still better than his. I do think, though, right now for me, Tom Brady is my quarterback 1. Although I don't know if you're wrong for choosing any of the other people. And we're going to immediately go over to Lamar Jackson now. And let's take a gander at this card really fast. 96 speed, 96 throw power, all this stuff. He meets the stuff, right? Throw under pressure is 94. Again, what is the difference in 4 overall points? Because Tom Brady is 98. I don't know. I really don't. But where things get interesting here is that he gets an X factor that starts on to begin games. He gets Truz, big Truz in parentheses. The reason this is interesting is because right now in the game, even if you're running read options or stuff like that with your quarterback, if you take a hit, your quarterback's going to fumble a lot. Like, it's way more common than probably any Madden I've played in terms of design quarterback runs, you fumbling on. And which means you kind of have to play on conservative, hold RB, or you have to slide. None of those are things you want to have to do consistently throughout a game. It's just annoying to have to do those things. So Big Trust for 1 AP lets you hold on to the ball and not fumble when it's activated, and you're good. You could juke into hit sticks, whatever. So if you run a lot of read options, in which I actually run the ball with my quarterback like an okay amount, I'm like, oh man, I kind of want this actually, right? Like this is kind of where it's like, oh wow, I think I actually want this. Now, let's move down to here where we're going to see Hot Route Master for 2 AP. If you're going to use Hot Route Master, which I think is another ability you really need to be using. I know I'll hear every once in a while comments saying, I don't use Hot Route Master. I do think that's wrong. Again, everyone has different offenses and stuff like that, so it's really, I'm being very generalized here. But I do think you need Hot Route Master, and you can only get it in this spot, I believe, right? Let me make sure I'm not being an idiot. Yeah, so you only get it right here, so it's going to be 2 AP right here, and then we're going to have set feet lead right here for another 2, so this is 4 AP, right? And then do we have Fearless as an option here, actually? I actually don't think we have a Fearless option. That's right. He doesn't have that Fearless option. So so if you're rocking Lamar, you're actually, what does this comment say? You can't remember, but yeah. You're actually not rocking Fearless, and that's where I'm like, 1, I'm skeptical on that. 2, you're not using Slinger, because Slinger, like, this would be 4. Slinger would make it 7 AP, right? And he doesn't have a great release. Now, he has Slinger 3, which it's the best deep ball release, like, yes, but that's not how this game is played, really. Like, sure, PA shot seams is yes, you have that deep ball, but if you're running tight offset, for example, you're not running with I don't see why you'd use Lamar then. Like, just use Tom Brady with Slinger at that point. And even that, like, you're still taking out a lot of intermediate routes and checkdowns and stuff like that. And it's like, Lamar's short release is really slow, and that's something that I really struggle with. But if you're kind of running the ball with your quarterback, you have 96 speed, you get this, you get Big Truz for 1 AP. You can even, make an argument right here to go, shoot Hot Route Master, evasive for 0 AP, and then just go, set feet lead here for 4. I don't really agree with that a ton, because again, ability, like how much it costs, plays a huge factor. But this is one of those cards where if you're using Lamar, I really do think if you're using Lamar, you have to be using this somehow, right? Like, you got to be actually utilizing his legs, or else the only reason to use him is technically for his deep ball release, which in my opinion isn't much better than Tom Brady's with Gunslinger, but Tom Brady does overthrow a little bit, but overall Tom Brady is the better passer, okay? Again, and this is a quarterback I'm actually considering a little bit, because I'd be running quarterback read options. Like, and I'd be using them with Tom Brady, and they're hell. I'm like, geez, if I had 5+ speed and I could take hits, like, okay, all right, why not? Here's a card that's way different than every other QB in terms of, 1, Joe Flacco probably, whatever. I was gonna diss on Joe Flacco IRL, but whatever. First and foremost, 78 speed. He is, I believe, 13 speed slower than Tom Brady, who's the next slowest. So it's like, okay, not a great beginning here. 97 throw power, sure. 95 throw under pressure. What's the difference between a couple rating points here? I don't know. Realistically, if you're using Joe Flacco, you probably have him on a theme team, though, so we can say 79 or 80 speed. But let's go abilities. Take a look here. Or really fast, actually, let's take a look at his release, because this is really the big thing. Slinger 1, it's a sprinkler. It's the Brett Favre. It's the Aaron Rodgers release, right? And that's where it's like, that's what I love. I am in love with this release. If I could have a wife right now and I could match her to a release, I want a girl who's rocking Slinger 1, okay? But let's go down to abilities and let's talk about what we have here. And where can he actually, let me make sure I get this right because I always be messing things up here. So, first and foremost, he can get Fearless for 0 AP. Heck yeah. 0 AP Fearless, baby. And then what we're rocking here is we have Howler Master in this spot for 2. And you kind of decide between Pass Lead Elite for 2 AP or do we get Set Feet Lead? I'm actually wrong. So we would go Pass Lead Elite right here and then Howler Master. So it's going to be 0 to 4 AP for Fearless, Pass Lead Elite, Howler Master. Gunslinger, in my opinion, for this card is not really... There's no real reason to use Gunslinger on this card. He already has a great release. I guess there's an argument for his deep ball. I've never tested it. The amount of overthrows, I wouldn't. I don't think I'd use Gunslinger on him. I don't think there's much reason to. So yeah, I would rock this. And now he has the fastest release underneath by a wide margin, in my opinion. You can really notice it, I think. Like he really, like if you're throwing drags and wheels and all those, quick throw seams, all those things, playing against the 5-man blitz. I always think, man, I'm playing against a zone blitz, right? A send 5, send 6. I want to get that ball out. I want a slinger. I want Slinger 1. I want Joe Flacco in this case. I really think I do. The issue for me really comes and again, he doesn't have any special X factor, right? We saw Lamar's big trust. Brady didn't have a special X factor either. The big issue for me, again, in just what I'm doing right now, is I run a lot of read options. I have some fun with my QBs. I can't justify 78 speeds, the slowest player on the field besides offensive linemen by far. And it's really hard right now for me to justify that, especially how lethal some of my read options and stuff are against the meta defenses. It's really hard for me to justify kind of taking out that. So that's where I'm like, man, it's tough, bro. I want to, like, trust, this is a QB I want to use. I just can't with 78 speed. I can't. But you might be able, like, that might be cool for you. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm getting at, like, I really want to make a big point here of there is not a specific quarterback who is the QB1. There's not, like, it makes sense. This makes sense for the majority of offenses in Madden. If you're running gun tight, right? Yes. You're running my tight flex. Hell, I have a gun tight from the beginning of the year. Like, a lot of the offenses I run or I've ran throughout the year, heck yeah. Just right now, he just doesn't fit what I want to do. And so he's a no for me, but I don't blame anybody for using him, Next one's Patrick Mahomes. This is a bit of an odd card. So first and foremost, the one he resembles the most is Tom Brady. He does have a different release. He has Slinger 2, which I believe is like only him pretty much. 94 speed and 99 throw under pressure, whereas Tom Brady has 91 speed, 98 throw under pressure. So Mahomes a little bit better here. Now, in terms of release, this is not as good as Slinger 1. What I keep on hearing and how I felt was that what I keep on hearing on Twitter and from other comp guys is that, hey, it's a little bit better than Brady's. Hey, it's a little bit worse than Brady's. When I used Mahomes, I felt like I couldn't really tell. So really what that tells me is that it's pretty close to Tom Brady's release, if that gives you any inclination. Now, could be different on, different sides of the field. Sometimes people have different releases, short left and they do short right and whatnot. Maybe, to me though, as of right now, they feel really similar. Feel free to disagree with that if you've actually had a good amount of testing. But if your response is, oh, they're just slightly better, slightly worse, they're probably about the same. I've heard both ways, you know what I mean? That's how I'll stand on that pretty well. Now, he does have ideal sense pressure. This is a trait that I'm not a big believer in traits, but I do know there are some people who are big into traits, and ideal sense pressure seems like a good thing. But let's talk about his abilities. This is really where he starts to set himself apart from Tom Brady and really every other QB is, look, immediately we have an X factor for him. Run and gun, Mahomes MVP. That Mahomes MVP X factor here. This gives you perfect throw accuracy on the run. Now, I tested this for one game. I didn't really test it well enough, honestly. I did a really bad job on my end of testing this. I didn't really care that much. I have seen some clips, though, of him making, like, last year-esque throws. And with 94 speed, you can kind of get out of the pocket, and you can make some crazy throws with it, and it's like, oh, oh, wait a second. You know what I'm saying? Like, it might be a really good ability. It really might be. He gets Slinger for 0 AP, so we're going to use that just like Thomas Edward Patrick Brady III. And then right here, I use Fearless for 1 AP here. I'm, again, big believer in that. We're going to Hot Run Master for 2 AP right here, so we got 3 AP. And then, ooh, is that right? Is that how I want to do that? Yeah, so 3 AP, and then, is that correct? No, you can do, I'm sorry, you can do Fearless right here for, so Passively Elite, Fearless for 3 AP, and then Hot Run Master right here for 5 AP, which matches pretty much what Thomas Edward Brady Patrick Jr. the GOAT, does. So it's pretty, I think they're pretty similar, right? If I'm not mistaken, this is 5, give or take. And what was Brady's? I believe Brady's was 5 in the end, right? We go 1, 2, and then set feet lead for 3. Yeah. But again, it can't change if you don't believe in Fearless. I really think Fearless is only going to become more and more of a popular thing. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts right now, man. Like those kind of basic pros and cons. Again, I am no market expert. The first thing I'll always tell you guys is I am no MUT guy. I am a gameplay guy. I play the game for the game. If it was up to me, this would be regs. But if you're interested in kind of seeing how I use some of these quarterbacks and learning some of the schemes I have, et cetera, Civil.gg, we have like 5, 6 different offenses right now. I have 2 different ebooks in the playbook that I'm running right now out of Chiefs. I love adding a defense here in a few days, adding another defense in a few days. Yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you do check out my website. Link to the top of the description. See you all in the next one.